Evan, welcome back to another amazing week. And we are always so excited to bring you perfect talent. Today's guest is no different. We are with a friend of mine, Evan Ogelsby, but he's just an amazing person. I'm so glad that he has taken some time to share his journey with our listeners, as well as people that are watching us live right now. Evan, let's start with just introducing yourself. So, you and I met in Vegas during Super Bowl week, and none better than to really talk about your experiences as well as some of the challenges that the NFL had for you. So, when did you actually get into the NFL?
Well, um, I came from a Division II program at the time, the University of North Alabama. So I was undrafted to the Buffalo Bills. Uh, Definitely interesting opportunity for me. First, I was excited to get a chance to go to the NFL, but then I saw how the business structure of the NFL is as far as a draft pick versus a walk-on. So it was pretty challenging for me early on in my career.
How do I explain that? There's always those things that happen in business that you don't know about until you're in the moment. So obviously, you're saying you were undrafted to the Buffalo Bills. So for those that are listening that may not be as familiar with that language, what exactly does that mean? And what steps did you have to take to get to that point?
Um, Undrafted as you was not chosen on draft day to be a part of their organization. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
draft day was the worst day of my life. Not gonna lie, I knew I wasn't a first day guy, so it really didn't bother me that first day. But my family wanted to get together and come to the house because I was projected to go fourth or fifth round, and fourth round came, name didn't get called. You know, I'm like, okay, fifth round came, I'm kind of talking to my agent at the time. No phone calls came, sixth round came, everybody's eyes is kind of getting glazed now, like what's going on? The kind of embarrassment setting in, but I got one more round to go. Seventh round came, nothing. The worst day of my life to be having my family around and not be able to experience that phone call. But then immediately after the draft, my phone started ringing. And
Like an episode of it reminds me of Jerry Maguire.
yes, yes, exactly like that. Phone started ringing, and with my agent and all, we kind of made a strategic move on which organization that we need to go and try to walk on at. Uh, and Buffalo had like a late round draft pick at my position. So we felt like that would be my better chance to kind of go in and kind of earn a spot on the rosters.
Understood. So you get to Buffalo. What was that like for you? Because you come from a more southern warm climate, and Buffalo can be brutal.
We reported in April there was snow flurries getting off the plane. I I had a coat that I felt that would protect me in Buffalo, but I soonly learned that you need to purchase a coat from Buffalo to actually be more effective. so, but going to Buffalo was a new experience. It was an awesome opportunity for me to finally meet uh, NFL guys that I've always followed and watched. It was amazing to be in the locker room and to see Oglesby name on the locker as well, my helmet. It was an overwhelming experience. I kind of laughed too because I'm like, oh, y'all think y'all getting rid of me? They gave me an ugly number 43 at the cornerback position. I'm like, oh, no, y'all not going to get rid of me. But I pretty much, the thing about Buffalo is not much to do up there. So it's very close knit as an organization and a team. So I really appreciated that being from a small town. That's what I was used to.
Did they embrace you? I mean, you have these, and I say it like this, you're a guy that played football, your goal was to go into the NFL, and now you're there. Are you a fan? Like, do you walk into the locker room, all excitable that like as people would be?
Well, I had to, you know, hold myself down a little bit. Like I'm a grown man too, so I can't be too excited to be in around those guys. You had Troy Vincent. I've always followed him. Nate Clemens, Takeo Spikes, Lawyer Malloy. Eric Moles, a lot of those guys I've always followed and watched. And to be in the same locker room with those guys, it was like a aha moment, you know. So I did have to calm myself down a little bit.
So now you're with Buffalo, you're undrafted, but you're now on the Buffalo Bills. But that is not where your journey ended. That's where your journey started. So how long did you play for the Bills? And then when did you transition?
Um, I didn't make the active roster. Definitely disappointed because I felt like I performed to the level that I should have made the active roster. So I was on practice squad most of the season. And then the Baltimore Ravens called in early December for me to come and sign to the active roster to be with the Ravens. So that was like a phone call from heaven, honestly. And it was actually surprised too because I was actually getting settled in Buffalo. You know, it's late in the season, and I was actually putting up my first Christmas tree when I got that phone call.
You're like, "No, I'm just getting comfortable and
Yeah.
settled." So so you get that phone call. Now, when you go from one team to another, so you're going from Buffalo Bills and now you're going over to the Baltimore Ravens. Is that something that they scoop you up because of the talent, or do you still have maybe management or an agent, working that angle for you?
Well, it all depends on like as far as injuries of that organization. If they're low in players at that position, they go off and seeking guys that they kind of was interested in earlier in the year and just didn't have a spot for them. So I think the injuries what played a part in Baltimore, and I guess I had a relationship with Ozzy because I went to college where he's from. So I guess he was kind of monitoring me along my way and I get a phone call that night. He's like, "Hey, Evan." I'm like, "Who is it?" He said, "It's Ozzie Newsome." He's like, "You ready to play with the big boys?" And I'm like, "Who is this?" Like, I really didn't know Ozzie at that time. And he's like, "It's Ozzie from the Baltimore Ravens. We want to assign you to our active roster." And it was like, man, I'm just not putting up my tree. Like, what you mean? And after talking to my agent, and it was a away game for Buffalo, and I was, kind of being loyal to them because I've been there. I knew that system, I knew the coaches and everything. I was going to see if they was going to pretty much match that offer of signing me to the active, and you know, ended up that next day flying to Baltimore,
So they
packing
give
up.
you no prep time. So it's like, hey, it's almost like the military. You get the phone call that says you're now on active duty. You need to report on the field. So now you leave Buffalo Bills, you're going over to Baltimore Ravens. How fast did they start you?
Uh, Day one. Again, this is about injury. So um, I learned a lot in Buffalo. I really appreciate that process. I know during college, I've always had a new defensive coordinator. So I guess that gave me the experience to kind of learn new schemes fast. And so when I was in Baltimore, week one, I mean, they get me ready to play Sunday. And it was a Brett Favre Sunday night football game versus the Green Bay Packers.
No
And
pressure. No pressure.
but the thing was, I was a rookie, and I walked into the locker room of Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, and my idol Deion Sanders. So I'm in the locker room of all of these Hall of Famers. So it was like instead of me trying to make the organization, like my skill, I was just trying to impress Deion. I mean, if I impress him, I know I'm NFL ready. So at practice, man, I was out there with a different motor. I was hungry. I was one of those players that I was the first one on the field. I was the last one to leave. I was very visible with the coaches so they can know my name. A lot of the things that coaches tell you along the way to do to kind of stand out. And I really had to do it in the NFL because now I'm like the walk on. I got to do something to bring attention my way. So every rep, even if it wasn't my rep, I tried to steal lineman reps just to get those coaches to say, Oglesby, get off the field. At least they call.
I love it. Well, just for the sake of time, we just need to quickly take a break because we have to do a quick commercial. However, don't touch that dial. We are with Evan Ogelsby. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Once again, we are speaking with Evan Ogilsby, and we are talking all about your journey in the NFL. So now we know you started out Buffalo Bills. Now you're with the Baltimore Ravens. Tell us a little bit about that experience for you, and what lessons did you learn? And I should say, what lessons did you learn that helped shape you as the man that you are today?
With that transition, again, um, through my college experience of being able to retrieve information and then applying it out on the field. That's where the educational piece comes to it. That's the difference between you playing in the league 1 or 2 years versus or getting vested, multiple years in the NFL. So I was kind of used to the terminology, used to the scheme. So it was a more of a comfortable fit on top of I'm out here playing in front of my idol, so confidence makes a lot of plays for you. Um, and it was just a great experience to be able to transition and then to be a Baltimore Raven. That was just, you know, amazing to be on the field with Ray and Ed Reed.
And a lot of times we talk to people that come on the show about mindset. And it sounds like you have this mindset shift, right? You always wanted to play hard for the Buffalo Bills, but when you finally made it onto the field as a Baltimore Raven, it sounds almost like there was something that kind of connected that said, I've arrived and I'm here. So, how about that first experience when you were on the field? And was your family there to support you? Did they tune in? Like, what was that feeling like for you?
Well, I knew I was going to play that Green Bay game, but I didn't know when. So, no, I didn't have any family members to fly up at the time because, like I said, it was last minute. Uh, Um, but when I got my it was just amazing running out of the tunnel. There's no pregame like the Baltimore Ravens pregame. And then when Ray came out with the dance at the end, I mean, like it's just oh my god, we about to whoop tail today, like so. Um, but when I got my call to get out on the field, it was like everything slowed down. Everything pretty much stopped because I'm like, dang, I'm running out on the field and I'm not watching it on television. I'm watching it eye level. There's Ed Reed right there. There's Ray Lewis. There's Deion Sanders. There's Dale Carter. There's Peter Bower. There's Terrell Suggs, And I'm like, dang, and this little kid from Toccoa, Georgia is out here on this field too. Like, oh my God. I'm in front of thousands of people, and it was like I was nervous, but at the same time, it was an aha moment like, dang, I made it too. I'm on the same field as these guys. So it was an overwhelming experience all at once. And then all of a sudden, hey, up, back to football. Guys running full speed at you. Let's play. But, it was just, a blessing for me to take those experiences and those lessons that I learned to land me out there on the same field as these guys that I always idled and followed.
So we now know you obviously have this amazing career. And now we have this transition again where you now exit the NFL, right? You retire out of the NFL. So we know you've created this unbelievable organization. The Evan Oglesby organization and the foundation focuses on helping youth and create awareness and foundation for kids for STEM and STEAM and raising awareness and self-esteem and anti-bullying and all of these things that sports really comes together and rallies around. And you create these events and camps. How did you determine that that was going to be your pathway versus taking, a corporate America job, for example?
When I was 9 years old, I used to attend the Boys and Girls Club and great organization. We used to have fun. My friends was there, but I wanted to learn more. I wanted to go and get coached on how to be a better athlete. I grew up in a single parent household. I was the oldest boy, so I didn't have like a older a brother to kind of beat up on me. I was gifted enough to play with the older kids a lot. Um, but I was already better than them. So I used to always want to like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I want to be the best. So I had that hunger in me early on. And I guess taking that with me all through school, I just was highly competitive. I wanted to be the best. in the classrooms. There were some girls in my class, they thought they had a better uh, penmanship than I was. So I was competing at them, letting them know that I can write just as neat as you guys, you know. My whole life has been competition growing up in a single parent household with siblings. You know, you fight for everything. But I just developed this hunger. I seen my mom struggle. I seen my grandmother uh, um, work her butt off and sacrifice. So those was like my whys. I want to change this. And growing up in a small town community, there was guys that went professional, but they never came back to kind of tell me what I needed to do. So I always told myself, if I ever make it out of here, if I ever go pro, I'm gonna come back to my hometown and show these kids that a pathway of how to get to their dreams. And so that's why I started the Evan Ogelsby Foundation. And we pretty much are the playbook of opportunities for kids. We try to use our athletic ability to provide a free education in college for us. And that's how I kind of go in, and you can get the kids' attention through sports. So if you throw a ball, I mean, it don't matter. You could be strangers. You have a ball, you're gonna build a relationship with that student. And so we use that sport concept to be able to uh, teach life lessons as well. So we try to teach them to be winners on the field, and then we also want to teach them to be winners in the game of life as well.
So you have all these different sports camps, and we know that you need to fundraise in order for these camps to stay alive. And we know that you have an event coming up in mid-April, and we'll put the information for our listeners. Tell us a little bit about how the concept came about for your football camps and your basketball academies and the different things that you do, because you're not just focused on football.
Well, again, sports is the draw. You know, I love to uh, connect with a child on a athletic level. I was able to make it to the professional level, so it's kind of kids have some type of excitement to meet me. So I kind of use that to kind of bring them in, and I'm sure they have a passion for something. So let's just hash it out through sports. And what sports do is teach them the discipline, the determination, the sacrifice, you know, the decision making, the mental side of whatever goals they're trying to accomplish. And yes, I play professional football, but I also have a background in basketball, baseball, and you know, those kids on all different sports probably have a dream too. So I just want to be like, again, the playbook of opportunities for all kids. And then from sports, then we talk about the educational piece, you know, the behavioral piece. You know, we kind of hash out everything. And now we're actually fortunate enough to start financial literacy of teaching these kids on how to save money and how money works, how credit works, partner with banks in the community. I mean, that was a big plus for our organization. So we're just trying to be well-rounded, trying to be an asset in the community. And this event coming up here on the 13th, I'm new to Atlanta. I moved here during COVID, and I pretty much been helping serve other charities as I'm here because, you know, fortunately, I'm been funding in the operation myself. So trying to change that moving out here to Atlanta. And so I just been kind of helping serve other foundations and trying to figure out how they operate on the financial side of getting fundraising and all that. And so this is kind of like my first opportunity to introduce the EO Foundation to Atlanta. My son, along with Ed Reed and Jamal Lewis, our kids play for the same school. They'll be on the same football team this year. So it's kind of ironic. You got three Baltimore Ravens kids going to the same school here in Atlanta. And so just pretty much using our platform to kind of excite the community on the fundraising opportunity for the high school. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for me to get my name out in the foundation, out in the community, to kind of get our summer program started, hopefully ending up getting an after school program.
I love it. How do people find you?
You can contact us at the Evan Oglesby Foundation.org website. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, we're out there. We trying to send out a Batman sign for help right now.
So right now, it's not too late for somebody to get tickets for the event on April 13th. And we do, again, we want to mention that's a celebrity basketball event. And people could also go directly to your website and they could make a donation of any type of monetary value. to help support some of the kids that are within your community, because you and I have spoken, they're not necessarily all children that can afford to engage. So these programs are important because you get to sponsorship children in, correct?
Correct. Yes. It's people talk about at-risk kids, but you have at-risk kids in the lower income communities, but you also have at-risk kids in the privileged communities as well. So we're trying to be the catalyst to kind of help these kids along the way with decision making, determination. Have a lot of at-risk kids that have the money, they lazy, you know. So we trying to like, you got to step it up because you compete with this kid that's hungry all the time. So his motor is going 1,000 miles an hour. So just kind of educate these kids on the process of what they need to do to become successful, reaching their
I
full.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you and I are friends. I'm so proud of you. I've said this to you before. I love the work that you do. I love that I can try to become a small part of it. And my mission is to help make sure that other people know about how awesome you are and how accessible you are. So if you know somebody that is struggling, you're interested in learning more about Evan Ogilsby, please visit any of his social media sites. Until next time, stay tuned. We're getting ready to bring you our next guest.